Let's talk about what it takes to be successful in today's self-storage business. Let's talk about the first mindset that I think is required. And my name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Quick Start Academy. And what I do is I support the small investor who wants to get in the self-storage business or who wants to grow their self-storage business, do so in a strategic way that creates true wealth and a fulfilling career. And we started last week on a series called What It Takes to Be Successful in Today's Self-Storage Business. And I talked about the 5 things that I think it really takes today. And today I want to do a deep dive into the first one. As we've said, knowing what to do, how to find properties, how to analyze properties, all of that's important, but it guarantees nothing. What has way more to do with you being successful in the self-storage business or in any endeavor or even in life itself has a lot more to do with how you think and how you relate to yourself and how you relate to success. And we're going to talk about the first of the 5 mindsets, is what I'm calling them, or belief systems that I've seen successful people use to get in the self-storage business. And the very first one is what I'm going to call the can-do-it mindset. In other words, there is an underlying conversation, underlying belief system for you that if someone else has been able to do it, then I can do it too. Now, most of us will agree with that, and most of us will say, I believe that, and we do. But does that belief system really drive you? Is that what's creating what's possible for you as you get in the self-storage business? So let's think about something. Go with me here a minute. Think about a newborn infant, a new baby. We've all seen a new baby. What is in that infant's future? Well, nothing and anything. Anything can be in that infant's future. Then what happens? Well, life happens. As soon as that infant begins to descend into language, there are a set of conversations and belief systems that are right there waiting for that person. This might be called being a human 101. Now, what the conversations are and the beliefs are depend a lot on when you were born, where you were born, what the religion is that you were born into, who your parents were. But it's all right there waiting for you. And pretty soon you may realize something like, well, I can't have everything I want. Or my parents have told me that life is hard and money doesn't grow on trees. In other words, what happens is life happens. And as life happens and unfolds, and we create the meaning in the conversations as events unfold, that begins to limit what's possible for us as a human being. We learn our place in society. We learn our place in the herd. We know what we're good at and what we're not good at. I'm just not that kind of person. Have you ever heard yourself saying that? I'm not good at blank. You fill in the blank. We learn lessons about life and about ourselves in life. Some of them are quite painful lessons. And what we do is we put that in our future because that's important to know. We don't want to experience that again. So we put all that in our future, and now we want to get into the storage business. Now, this isn't personal to you. This means nothing about you. This is the experience that everyone has. Because you're alive, you're going to have these experiences. This is what human beings do. It's literally a byproduct of our evolution to help keep us safe. something happens, we make it mean something, learn something from it, and then put it in our future to try to protect ourselves. As a species, this is how we've survived. So let's go back for a minute and think about that infant. What's in that infant's future? Nothing. Anything's in that infant's future, but nothing's really in it. Let's focus on that nothing for a minute. Nothing is there. But as we all know, the universe hates a vacuum. As soon as possible, unconsciously, we begin to put stuff into our future. I can remember early on, for example, when I was 5 years old, my father thought I was some kind of whiz kid, and he enrolled me in first grade at barely turning 5. Teachers all told him that I was too young, but my father had his own ideas. I was enrolled in school, and I had to repeat the first grade. And then a year or two later, we moved to a new home, new school. I had to enroll in that school mid-year. My father told them I should probably be in the advanced class. I think I lasted 3 days in the advanced class. And I really learned an important lesson through all that. I really got, I'm not that smart. And that's important to know, because I sure didn't want to have to experience the embarrassment that I had been experiencing from repeating the first grade and being moved down to a less advanced class. That's important information, especially when you're 7 or 8 years old. That's critical to know. So that goes in my future. Now, what becomes possible for me now has been lessened some. You may think that stuff's in my past. No, it's not. It's in my future, because I need to know that. I don't want to experience the experience and the feelings that came with that experience before. Now, is it true I'm not that smart? I mean, is it true? Well, not really. I'm smarter than some people, not as smart as other people. But for me, what was real, what was right there was, I'm not that smart. Now, I wasn't present to it, I wasn't conscious of it, but that conversation was right there. I'm not that smart. Now I want to get into the self-storage business. Now I want to take other people's money. I am going to generate a 12% cash-on-cash return for the first 5 years. I got to generate a 20% internal rate of return over 10 years. I've got to create budgets. I've got to analyze property and run numbers. But I'm not that smart. Now, if the I'm not that smart conversation is not flushed out and dealt with, what do you really think my chances of success are? Would you want to give me your money? Would you want to give your money to somebody who's not that smart? Now remember that infant. What's in that infant's future? Nothing. Then we start putting stuff there. But the reality is, whatever we put there, we give the meaning to it. All that happened was I repeated first grade, and I got moved from one class to another. That's what happened. All of the meaning and the experience, I made that happen. I created that meaning. Now, I could have created anything, but what I created was, I'm not that smart. So just realize that what we put in our future is not true. What we put in our future is a conversation or belief, and then we create the meaning for it. Yes, it might have been a valid thing for a 7 or 8 year old to say after that experience, but it's not true. The fact is, we give meaning to everything. We are meaning-making machines. Something happens, we make it mean something, and then we create a conversation or belief about it and put it in our future to protect us. Now, it really takes something to be able to develop the habit of really flushing out what we created and put in our future that's limiting ourselves right now. The reality is, the conversation, if someone else can do it, I can do it too, that's not really true either. Whatever truth it has is what I make it mean for myself. However, if someone else can get in the self-storage business, I can too, is a lot more empowering to me than I'm not that smart. So I'm real interested in what empowers me. I've said it many times, I'm not that interested in the truth. We add the meaning to everything. I'm interested in what empowers me. So if we want to live a created life, if we want to complete the limiting conversations that hold us back, what becomes imperative is that we live a self-reflective life. We've got to develop the habit. You don't have to, but what really supports you and empowers you is to develop the habit of examining what your belief systems are and what conversations are creating what's possible for you in your life at this moment. The training I've had is I get to create the beliefs that I want in my future. If someone else can do something, I can too. Or more specifically, if someone else can get in the storage business, then I can get in the storage business. That is a created conversation that I put in my future. Yeah, some people are born with some version of that, but most of us aren't that lucky. Again, the people that I've seen be successful have some version of that conversation in their future. They might not be conscious of it, but that's there for them. They're not doubting that they can do it. And you know why they're not doubting they can do it? Because they've seen other people do it. So I'll give you the process in a minute, but what I actually do is create what I want, the belief systems I want, and I literally walk around. I'll take walks and mentally chant them and say them to myself. And I want to get those, what I'm creating, deep into my awareness. And then guess what begins to show up? Everything that's not that. Yes, we can find a storage project that might work, but if the underlying belief system I have is I'm not that smart, people, situations, and experiences will begin to show up that will create barriers to me getting in the self-storage business. That is the opportunity for us. That literally creates a door on a wall that wasn't there before. We can begin to examine what is the real belief behind me driving this. So something will come up, it gets sold to somebody else, or the numbers don't work, but an old familiar feeling will set in. And that's at the moment where you get to examine what's behind that feeling. What is the conversation that's behind this familiar feeling? And you can begin to flush out what your limiting beliefs are. So I've spent the last 20 years or so of my life, one belief, one conversation at a time, distinguishing it, fleshing it out, and getting rid of it and replacing it with something that empowers me. So here's a process. It's not the process, but here's a process. One, create a mindset or belief that you think will support you as you get in the self-storage business. Try on, if someone else can get in the self-storage business, so can I. Two, internalize it daily. Walk around saying it, really internalize it. Three, what will begin to show up in reality in your life is everything that's not that. People, places, and situations will begin to show up that stop that from being your experience. Then, as familiar feelings arise from whatever's stopping you, examine what is the belief, what is the conversation behind this familiar feeling. Now, hint, the art of this is to not make it mean something about you. Now, I know the experience is personal, but it's really not personal. We all have these. And usually when we discover a limiting belief, we make it mean something about ourselves. What really empowers us is to not add the meaning to it, just distinguish what the conversation is. For me, one of them was, I'm not that smart. The more honest and mindful and present we are, the faster this can happen. Once you distinguish a limiting belief, you may even begin to see the events that created when that was created, and then all the things that reinforced it. That's really not that important. What is important is, what is the real underlying belief that's limiting me? 4, the next step is you ask yourself the question, is it true? Is it true I'm not that smart? Well, no, it's not true. Now, sometimes the immediate answer for me is yes, it's true. If that happens for you, then ask the question, but is it really true? Is it really true I'm not that smart? Now, I've never had to do that more than 3 times, because it really isn't true I'm not that smart. I'm smarter than some people, I'm not as smart as others. I just created that from the experiences I had repeating first grade and being moved out of an advanced course. I mean, I could have created anything. I could have created my father's stupid. I didn't create that. I created I'm not that smart. Step 5. Now replace that with what you've already created or some other belief that really empowers you. Now, go to step 2 again. Internalize it and go through that process continually. Distinguish the limiting conversations that you are having. So if you create the belief system, the can-do-it mindset, and what begins to be your experience is all the things that are stopping you from getting in the storage business, that's great. That is your opportunity to figure out what is the limiting conversation and limiting belief system. And you can create anything. Try on. If someone else can get into the self-storage business, so can I. Now, the first few times we do this process, it can be life-changing. It can also seem very significant. However, over time, it just becomes something we do. It becomes part of our life. It's not that significant. We're not that significant. We're just living a created life rather than a life given by the default belief systems that we have placed in our future, mostly as young people. Now, don't get me wrong, I never cease to be amazed at the power that human beings have. Now, think about it. You know, a 7-year-old created a belief, I'm not that smart, from a couple of experiences. And what was possible all the way for me up until the age of 52 was, I'm not that smart. How far I could really go in life was limited by what that 7-year-old created. That's the power of your thoughts and your belief systems. I could have created anything. I just created that. What have you created? Look, we all have the same fate. We all end up in the same place. Life is temporary. The only significance is what we create for ourselves and the people we care about along the way. There's nothing better about living a created life than not. For me, it's just a more fulfilling and empowering experience. I've said this before, but for me, the best part of being in business for myself is getting to live the type of empowered life that someone who's continually distinguishing what's holding them back and then breaking through to the next level. I mean, think about that. That is quite a way to live a life. Every morning when I get up, I have the experience, and most of the people I work with now have the experience of getting up and working in a business that they have created and have the experience of fulfilling a vision that they have created for themselves in their lives. Not a bad way to go through life. Try creating the mindset. If someone else can do it, I can too. Look, if you don't like that, you can always keep what you have in place instead of that. So thank you very much. My name's Mark Helm. I'm the author of Creating Wealth Through Self-Storage, and I'm the creator of the Storage World Analyzer. That's the financial analysis tool that we use to run the cash flows of the potential properties that we're looking at. If you're not using it, explore it. CreatingWealthThroughSelfStorage.com and hit the Storage World Analyzer tab. Thank you very much, and I look forward to being with you next week as we explore the second mindset that it takes to be successful in the self-storage business today. I'll see you then.